One day, Andy, the Class 87, was making his way along the Peel Godred branch with a freight train. Some of his wagons needed to be unloaded at Kirkmarken, where Eric the mountain engine was waiting. Good morning, Andy. Thank you for bringing this lot. Manager up at Summit Hotel has been rather impatient lately. Really? I didn't think lava lamps were that important. No, it's not just that. He's just been really excited over the hotel refurbishment, and wants it ready in time for the summer rush. Well, I suppose that's understandable. My driver was renovating his house last year, and he was determined to do as good a job as possible because he wanted to ensure that his kids would still be happy in case he unexpectedly, climbs the stairway to heaven, shall we say. Presently, Alaric came trundling into the station with his passenger train. Andy was pleased to see the people all cheerful after their trip up the mountain. Good morning, Alaric. Nice day for a journey to the summit, isn't it? But Alaric said nothing. He just waited a few minutes for the next lot of passengers, then set off again. Is he alright? Not since his runaway last year. I've tried to ask him what was wrong numerous times, but it's really hard to get a response out of him. Culdee suggested that I give him some space until he's ready to talk again. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good at all. You don't have to tell me twice. I wish I could stay and help Alaric in some way, but I need to pick up some wagons from the aluminium works at Peel Godred. See you later, Eric. And with that, Andy left Kirkmarken station and continued up the branch. The supplies from his train were transferred to the wagons that Eric brought from the shed, and the CFR's number 8 soon blasted up the steep incline to the summit. For some reason, he felt a strong sense of grunt and sheer determination, like that furious guitar riff that Brian May played. The journey was fairly slow, and it didn't help that George the Steamroller was hurling profanities at the railway again, but Eric eventually reached the summit, where he found Alaric still waiting with his coaches. Is everything alright, Alaric? But the CFR's number 7 was initially too deep in thought to answer Eric's question. There was a long silence. If you must know, I'm still traumatised by what happened to Godred. Oh, come on, man. That was 124 years ago, and we didn't even exist at the time. I think you can move on from it. It's not just Godred's accident. When Culdee and I became a runaway that one time, I was scared shitless of the possibility of getting in a nasty crash. Frankly, I'm still nervous about running on this line, given how dangerous it can be. And sometimes, I just want to hide in the shed all day, or be put on static display in a museum, because I hate the idea of getting severely damaged in a crash. Or worse. So what you're saying is that you're afraid of death? Is that it? As embarrassing as it is to admit, yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy life, to an extent. But it's as if every night and every day, a little piece of me is falling away. I hate being so fucking anxious all the time. Well, even though we're not bound by the same mortal coil as people, the idea of being scrapped is still just another part of the circle of life, as scary as that sounds. Sure, we can still be overhauled again and kept in service for as long as possible, at least in theory. But in the end, and to quote the opening line of the Roxy Music song, Same Old Scene, nothing lasts forever. Of that I am sure. God, I hate reality sometimes! To an extent, I don't blame you. And as much as I hate to say it, it is what it is. I suppose you're right. But for now, I need to get these passengers back to Kirkmacken. This is an interesting group, apart from the guard of course, because I haven't heard them speaking a word of English in the whole time I've been up here. I wish I could come back with you, so we could talk things out on the way, but I need to wait until the wagons are emptied before leaving. See you later, Alaric. And with that, Alaric's driver blasted the whistle, and the purple 042 tank engine set off for his return trip. When he arrived back at Kirkmacken, the CFR's number 7 was very surprised by the engine waiting at the standard gauge platform. Henry? What in heaven's name are you doing here? I'm on my way back to Knapford. We're running a charter for a group from Bratislava, Slovakia, of all places. And later this week, I'll be taking part in a cavalcade featuring the original 7 engines from Season 1. The Fat Controller's been in a rather good mood lately, and said that the cavalcade is a celebration of the very basic concept of life, or something of that nature. Thomas and Percy think he's high again. Oh really? The group's from Slovakia? I guess that explains the foreign language I've been hearing on this run just now. And when I stopped at Culdee, one of the electric engines told me that you've been feeling rather blue lately, despite the fact that you're actually purple. Any for your thoughts? Alaric struggled to get the words out at first because he was still feeling uneasy, but he eventually told Henry the same things he told Eric back at the summit. Have you told anyone else about the situation? Well, I kept quiet for a long time after the runaway, but I broke the silence when I was up at the summit with Eric. And as I came back down the line, I was thinking about what our number 8 said. It reminded me of the fact that we still have plenty of work to do, which keeps our minds occupied. And on the CFR, we don't waste no time at all. That's the spirit, Alaric. I used to be very sad and pessimistic myself back when I was in my original shape. You know, that weird hybrid of a C1 Atlantic and A1 Pacific. Yes, indeed. I remember hearing about those days from Culdee. I wasn't built until 1962, long after your trials with Welsh coal, and 36 years after my cousin Ralph over in Llanberis, for that matter. Speaking of Welsh coal, the Fat Controller still gave me another chance despite all my failings. After that, and my rebuild as a Black 5 following the Flying Kipper crash, I realised that life is far too bloody short to just be sitting around moping and dwelling on past events. As the late Tom Petty once sang, I won't back down, and I suggest that you try to make the most of life while we're waiting for the hammer to fall. Henry, you absolute fucking legend! The CFR's number 7 said no more. He just gave another loud blast on the whistle and charged out of the station again. As for the NWR's number 3, he was left speechless. Later that week, Henry arrived back at Knapford for the big original 7 cavalcade. The engines set out from the big station a few days later, and put on a good show as they passed all the rail fans who gathered on the line side. Thomas was especially excited, as he had been fitted with an old chime whistle from a New Zealand steam locomotive just for the occasion. Skarloey and some of the narrow gauge engines gathered at Crovan's Gate to watch the convoy pass by. Duncan was especially pleased, as it finally gave him a break from what he thought was an excessive workload. But at the end of the day, most of the engines of Sodor were very lucky to have such a wholesome community on their island, and made a concerted effort to not take things for granted and enjoy life while they still had it.